Hi, everyone. Welcome. Thanks for joining us on the Coastal Conservancy's Proposition 68 Tijuana River Valley webinar. This is Megan Cooper. I'm the South Coast Regional Manager at the Coastal Conservancy, and I'm joined by Sam Genikis, who's our project manager for the Tijuana River Valley. We have a pretty short presentation for you today on the basics of this funding opportunity. And then we have plenty of time at the end of the webinar to answer some of your questions. So please go ahead and write your questions in the question box there, and we will read them out and answer them at the end of the presentation. And it's just going to be a webinar today. Apologies that we don't have a webcam working for this webinar. And Sam, go ahead to the next slide. There we go. For those of you who don't know, the Coastal Conservancy is a state agency of California that was created in 1976. We're one of the 3 coastal zone management agencies in the state. Our mission is to act with others to preserve, protect, and restore the resources of the California coast, ocean, and the San Francisco Bay Area. We focus on working with local partners to plan, design, and implement projects on the ground. So we are both a project manager and occasionally we lead projects of our own. Next slide. The Coastal Conservancy has completed more than 2,400 projects throughout the state, ranging from habitat restoration, trails, and other public amenities to education and access. Our jurisdiction covers about 30% of California's land area and approximately 75% of the population. Next. Okay, so on to Proposition 68. The large majority of funds that the Coastal Conservancy spends on projects originate from bond initiatives, as we are not supported by the State General Fund. Each of these bonds gives direction to the agencies about how to expend the funds. So Proposition 68 was approved by voters in June 2018 and codified as Division 45 of the Public Resources Code. The purposes of Prop 68 include creating parks, enhancing river parkways, and protecting coastal forests and wetlands. We provided a link here to the Proposition 68 guidelines, which our board approved in December 2018. I should mention that this presentation will be available on our website afterward, and we are also recording it for those who couldn't make it today. So Proposition 68 does not require a competitive process like some other bond funds do. So we have had a rolling pre-proposal open on our website, but haven't had the funds appropriated from the legislature to spend as of yet on Prop 68. Next slide. Oops.
I think it should be up for you now.
Yeah, thank you. The Conservancy's Prop 68 funds were further appropriated by the Budget Act of 2019. The Budget Act appropriated $15 million of the Conservancy's Prop 68 funds to the Tijuana River Border Pollution Control Project. Subsequent to that, Senate Bill 690 further guided the Conservancy's expenditure of these funds by stating that, and I'm going to paraphrase, when granting these Proposition 68 funds for purposes of addressing transboundary flows and pollution in the Tijuana River Valley, the Conservancy is encouraged to prioritize projects identified in San Diego County's Needs and Opportunities Assessment. Yeah, let's see. So we're going to get a little bit more to the details of this particular Proposition 68 fund source that is targeted for the Tijuana River Valley. And I'm going to hand it over to Sam Genikis, who manages all of our projects in the Tijuana River Valley, to take it from here.
Thanks, Megan. This RFP for the Tijuana River Border Pollution Control grants has an available $12 million for funding, and that's broken down into roughly $8.8 million for projects located in or benefiting severely disadvantaged communities, and then approximately 3.2 for all other projects. Our pre-proposals will be due on October 15th. We realize that that's a pretty short timeline, but these are pretty easy to complete in that time frame. From October 15th to November 15th, we'll be doing evaluation and then requesting for full applications from grantees or prospective grantees, and then full applications will be due on January 8th, 2021. So what projects are eligible? Generally, initially we have to be consistent with the purposes of Chapter 1 and 9 of Proposition 68. Chapter 1 details the general provisions, definitions, and guidelines. We'll let you know if we have any issues with that, with your proposal. Chapter 9 is the source of this funding within Prop 68 and provides for funding projects that enhance and protect coastal and ocean resources. So if you're responsive to this RFP, you'll almost certainly be consistent with Chapter 9. Projects should also be meet the Conservancy's project selection criteria. Some examples of those are promoting the Conservancy's statutory programs and purposes, be consistent with the purposes of the funding source, should promote and implement state plans and policies, have support from the public, et cetera, et cetera. Like Megan said, any of these eligible projects should also be identified in the Tijuana River Valley Needs and Opportunities Assessment, but I need to make clear that that's should, it's not a definite. And then planning projects are eligible, but they need to explain how the project will be implemented, operated, and maintained. The Conservancy can make grants to government agencies, federal, state, local, and special districts, federally recognized tribes, and 501c3 nonprofit organizations with purposes that are consistent with Division 21 of the Public Resources Code. The Prop 68 funds, they must be spent consistent with general obligation bond law as well. Government Code Section 16727 in general states that this means projects must entail the construction or acquisition of capital assets and or activities that are incidentally but directly related to construction or acquisition, such as planning, design, and engineering. Generally, research and data collection, operation, and maintenance costs are not eligible for this funding. So with respect to grant application tips, we welcome a pre-submittal consultation. The pre-proposal should be really concise and specific, just detailing the who, what, when, where, and how of the project. We welcome non-state and in-kind match, and let us know if you're applying to other state programs. And CEQA should be completed before construction is funded, but we can review applications before CEQA is complete. I'm just going to leave this slide up briefly. This is for the pre-submittal consultation. You want to contact Megan, our South Coast Program Manager, to initiate that. I've got a few FAQs. Is there a maximum or minimum grant award? No, there's not. We don't intend to have other Prop 68 rounds for the Tijuana River Valley this year covering other regions. The Conservancy will fund planning, but as I said, applicants should be able to detail how they will implement, operate, and maintain the project. We can fund multi-phase projects. We cannot reimburse for costs prior to grant award. And we can technically fund projects in Mexico, but the details of this should be discussed with Conservancy staff in a pre-submittal consultation. I don't really, it wouldn't be wise for us to get into specifics about specific projects over this webinar. And at this point, we would be happy to answer any questions. So if you have any questions, please, like Megan said, submit them in the question section for the webinar.
I don't see any questions or chats at this point. It looks like there's also a feature for attendees to raise their hand. If you want to do that, we can also call on you. Wait, maybe there is one. Okay. Okay, oh good, some questions are coming in. So let me read these out as I get them. Give me 1 second to read them here. Okay, I got a question from Stephen Wright. So Stephen, I'm going to ask you to clarify this a little bit in the chat. It said, would one letter with many signatures be considered eligible? I'm not sure that I know what that means. So if you could clarify that in the question, that would be great. For now, I'll go to the second one. What portion of a grant can be used for monitoring? So there's not a specific percent of the funding that could be used for monitoring for a particular project. It would depend on the project itself. I'm assuming that you're referring to post-construction monitoring. We do consider that to be part of the project, but the monitoring would really have to be centered around identifying the success of the capital project itself. But we have we often fund post-project monitoring so that we can get a sense for if the project was successful. If that didn't answer your question, go ahead and ask it again. That was from Natalie. Will this presentation be available after the webinar is over? Yes, it will. We'll post this on our website, and it's also being recorded. Okay, so Stephen, you clarified your question, multiple agencies from different sectors. So there, we have to have one grantee. I'm not sure if I'm getting this right, but there has to be one grantee that we enter into a grant agreement with. So the money would be going to one organization. But we often have multiple project partners on one grant. So you could have subcontracts or sub-grantees working on one project. Can we add letters of support? Letters of support are not needed for the pre-proposal. It's really helpful for us for you to talk about what your partnerships are. We really, at this stage, we really want to know who are the partners involved with the project. Getting broader letters of support from a bigger audience would come later in the process if your project is selected to move into a full proposal. Let's see. Those are all the questions I'm seeing for now. And if I didn't get those quite right, please let me know. Oh, there's another one. Do you have an example of a pre-proposal document that you would like to see? Especially with respect to content length, etc. Well, just to clarify, there is a pre-proposal form document that is connected to this RFP that is on our website, available for you to download and fill in. And I think on that pre-proposal, it identifies, I think a couple of pages for you to answer the questions in. But providing an example of a completed pre-proposal is not a bad idea, actually. I will see if we can get one up on the website for you, but it's a pretty simple 2 or 3 page document, like Sam said, just really getting at the specifics of the project. What is it that you're going to do? Where is it? How big is it? How much is it going to cost? Who's involved? That kind of a thing. Okay, got it. That answered your question. Good. Okay. Just give you guys a couple more minutes to type in any questions you might have. Good to see some friendly names on the webinar. Martha, hello. Okay, well, it looks like I'm not seeing any more questions. Oh, good. Thank you. Somebody said yes, everything is clear. Okay, oh wait. Oh, some more just came in somehow. Okay. Is there a limit on how much money can be used for the planning phase of a construction project? No, there is no limit on that. We don't have a particular percentage or proportion that can be spent on planning. We often do fund just planning projects. So that's fine. It's just, you know, the funding request has to be consistent with what the scope and tasks are for that project proposal. Who do we contact if we want to apply from Mexico? So working in Mexico, as Sam said, is a little tricky for us, but you have to work through a US organization. So a nonprofit or, well, in this case, I think that it would really only be a nonprofit unless there's maybe some other JPA or something that you could work through. But the grant would have to go to, let's say, a nonprofit, a US nonprofit organization, who would then perhaps be able to subcontract or subgrant out some of the funds to a Mexican organization who'd be working on that side of the border. And this would have to be a project. Of course, since it's in the Tijuana River Valley, it would benefit the Tijuana River Valley. And I think there's probably a lot of projects, great projects that could be done on that side of the border as well. Yeah, hopefully I just answered the second question. We're an NGO from Mexico and we want to submit a proposal. So like I just said, that has to go through a US organization. Okay, if CEQA will be completed in the next 1 to 2 years, could we still complete this application for an implementation project? The answer is probably not. We could probably talk more about that, but these funds do need to be encumbered by June of 2021, which means our board has to approve the project before June 2021. And our board cannot make a decision on a construction project before CEQA analysis has been completed. Because then our board would be taking the first action and we would actually have to complete the CEQA analysis. So I don't think the timing would work out, but you know, we might be able to fund the planning, design, engineering portion of your project. So we could get in touch more about that. Okay, looks like you answered that question. Let's say we have a habitat restoration project, but we're still working on CEQA. Can we still apply for the funding? Oh, that was just a follow-up. Hopefully I just answered that question. Let me know if I answered your CEQA question or if I didn't. Does the capital project that a planning proposal is linked to have to be a Prop 68 funded capital project? Could it be a federally funded capital project? No, it doesn't have to be a Prop 68 funded project. In fact, leveraging our state funds, our state planning funds with federal construction funds would be great. I say the more that the federal government could pay for these projects, the better. So no, that's fine. June 2021, question mark. Yeah, so funds need to be encumbered by June 2021. Okay. I'm scrolling back through to see if there was anything else. Okay. What is the performance period? This will vary. It's usually 3 years after the grant agreement is signed or after the funds are encumbered. That really depends. So sometimes the funds are reappropriated and extended, and sometimes they aren't. But I'm just going to say, for the sake of argument, it would be 3 years. Once awarded, how much time do grantees have to spend on the funds? I think I just answered that question. It's about 3 years, depending. Okay, good. Okay. I'll wait 1 more minute, just because it seems like some questions have kind of keep coming in. Sam, did you want to jump in and clarify anything that
I would just say that just to let people know that we will both be available to continue to answer
Yes.
questions.
Absolutely, thank you. Okay, it looks like we may have answered all questions. And like Sam just said, feel free to reach out to me if you are already in contact with Sam and want to ask him questions. That is great too. We're both available to answer questions. We look forward to seeing your projects and hearing more about your projects. So if that's all for now, we appreciate all of you guys joining us. And hopefully we will talk with you more about your projects in the future. Thanks very much. Bye.